Welcome to the deep dive. Okay, so you've handed us a really fascinating set of sources today. We're looking at a story, a relationship really, that started with this incredibly public, messy collapse.
Yeah, total chaos back then. And it went through years of, well, fluff out, only to arrive now at this pretty surprising point of commitment.
Exactly. So our mission for this deep dive, we're focusing on these former high-profile anchors, Amy Robach and T.J. Holmes.
Right. And it's not just about rehashing that whole implosion from late 2022, which, most people remember.
Oh yeah, it was everywhere.
It was. What we want to do is really dissect the strategy, maybe the calculation behind this recent news about them, this engagement.
And what does it tell us about how they're navigating, all that public scrutiny now?
And the core reveal, the big news they dropped themselves almost 3 years later after losing jobs, marriages, reputations.
It's almost unbelievable when you frame it like that.
It is. The news is simple. Amy Robach and T.J. Holmes are engaged. It's just, wow, a real turnaround, considering where they were.
Definitely a turnaround. Okay, so to really get the weight of this, we need to go back first. Remind ourselves just how bad it got.
Absolutely. Let's ground ourselves in the scale of that original damage. Because this wasn't just some minor gossip item. The sources make it clear this cost them basically everything.
Yeah, think back. It's late 2022. You've got these two, Amy and TJ, very established, very high-profile morning show anchors, sitting side by side every day.
Trusted faces,
Yeah.
Their whole brand was built on that reliability, the chemistry people saw on screen.
Totally. And then the rumors start. Whispers that their relationship wasn't just professional, and crucially that it began while they were both still married.
And it didn't just get awkward on set. It, detonated. The whole situation just exploded publicly.
Right. And the fallout wasn't slow, was it? It was immediate.
Immediate and, frankly, devastating for their careers. The network couldn't just ignore it. I mean, think of the ethics questions, the sheer operational chaos it caused behind the scenes.
So you get this major uproar, as the sources call it, leads to a full internal investigation.
And the result wasn't just, a slap on the wrist or a brief suspension. It was the end, their eventual permanent exit from the show, from those anchor chairs.
Yeah, the sources were really explicit. They lost careers, marriages, reputations, all of it. It was a complete public dismantling.
A dismantling of their professional selves. That's the key, I think.
Right. It's not like an actor in a movie that bombs. Their job depended on maintaining this image of stability, trustworthiness.
Exactly. So to go from being the people delivering the news to being the scandal, the headline, that's a massive rupture. Psychologically, professionally.
It's the kind of thing few people really recover from, especially in that industry. They weren't just reporting the chaos, they were the chaos, and it cost them everything.
And, that kind of situation, it probably forced them to rely on each other even more, right? When all the external stuff, the jobs, the validation just vanished.
Their relationship, however messy at start, kind of became the only thing left standing.
Maybe. Maybe the only structure they felt they had. Which could explain why, after, 3 years out in the cold, essentially, they decided to make it official with an engagement.
Okay, so let's trace that path then. From that point of total destruction to this very public declaration of, commitment.
Right. Flash forward nearly 3 years. The narrative takes a sharp turn.
They announce it themselves on their own podcast, telling listeners they've been engaged for just about a month now.
And the sources mention their ages, too. Amy's 52, TJ's 48.
Why does that matter, do you think?
Well, it underscores that this isn't some impulsive decision, right? This comes after years of intense public judgment, the whole messy process of ending previous marriages and then trying to rebuild careers, mostly outside that mainstream spotlight they used to have.
Yeah, it does speak to a certain level of deliberation. They faced that huge storm 3 years ago. They could have easily just drifted apart, let the scandal define the end of their connection.
But they didn't. They stuck together through all the professional hits, the financial fallout probably, the public shame, and then decided to get married.
It suggests they decided this relationship was worth the incredible price they'd already paid for it.
It's like the ultimate act of defiance, maybe,
Huh.
against all that judgment. Their first choice led to ruin. This choice is framed as, look, we survived, it was real.
Okay, but here's where it gets really interesting, strategically speaking. The way they announced it.
Not the usual celebrity playbook, right?
Yeah.
No magazine exclusive, no carefully worded PR statement released through reps.
No, they did it on their own terms, on their own show, their podcast.
And adding another layer to that strategy, this detail about the ring is fascinating. The sources say Amy had actually been wearing this diamond ring in public for weeks before the announcement.
Get this specifically. Walking through massive stadiums, huge crowds, presumably lots of eyes, and yet somehow...
No one noticed. That's what the sources claim.
Yeah, how is that even possible? For two people who were at one point absolute paparazzi magnets, that feels intentional.
It has to be, right?
Yeah.
It points to this very deliberate post-crisis approach. They learned a hard lesson back in 2022 about what happens when you don't control the information flow.
So this time, they weren't exactly hiding the ring, maybe, but they were absolutely controlling the timing and the platform for the announcement of what it meant.
Exactly. It suggests the goal wasn't secrecy about the ring itself, but sovereignty over the story of the engagement.
They didn't want the story to leak. Source says Robach is wearing a ring. They wanted the story to be, we're engaged, we're telling you ourselves now.
Precisely. And that lack of notice, maybe it wasn't just luck. Maybe it reflects a kind of earned quietness, or perhaps the media cycle had just moved on slightly. Or maybe a combination.
Yeah, the sources say their stated goal this time was to own their story before anyone else did.
That makes perfect sense, given their history. This whole pivot to creating their own content, the podcast, it's their way of seizing back control. They're essentially monetizing their own narrative now.
They claim it's about finding peace, after all the chaos. Not about trying to prove anyone wrong.
Mm-hmm.
But hang on. If the goal is peace and privacy, why announce it on a public podcast at all? Isn't that still playing the public relevance game, even if it's on their own turf?
That's the paradox, isn't it? It walks that really fine line between wanting privacy and needing, or maybe wanting, to stay relevant and profitable in this new media landscape they're building for themselves.
So they're using the podcast, which is basically their new career,
Right, built on the ashes of the old one.
to deliver this high-value piece of personal news. They get to define the narrative, sure, but they're also leveraging the public's lingering interest in their story.
It suggests they know their currency now is their story. The story of endurance, the story of the scandal, the story of coming back. And that story needs updates to keep people engaged.
So less rejecting the spotlight, more redirecting it onto a stage they built and control.
That's a great way to put it. The chaos of 2022 showed them the danger of leaks.
Yeah.
This engagement announcement shows them practicing narrative control. It's gatekeeping their own lives, but still performing parts of it publicly.
Okay, so based on this new controlled approach, what happens next? Is there going to be a big wedding, photos, or do they double down on this quiet thing?
Well, the hints they've dropped, according to the sources, lean towards quiet. They suggested the wedding might be intimate, small, and deeply personal.
Which is kind of ironic, isn't it?
Totally ironic. Think about it.
Yeah.
Two people whose entire professional lives were built on being seen, on being central figures in massive, loud media operations.
They're talking about intimacy, smallness, keeping things personal.
It's a huge shift, a complete repositioning. They used to chase the cameras, or at least thrive in front of them. Now it seems like they're trying to keep them at a very specific, controlled distance.
Moving from constant exposure to measured containment.
Yeah. It really feels like a statement about their whole journey, doesn't it?
Yeah.
The past was this public explosion. The present is this quiet, deliberate commitment, unveiled carefully.
It fits with how the sources kind of wrap it up, too, saying sometimes the most unexpected love stories are the ones that refuse to fade no matter who's watching.
It implies their bond, regardless of how it started, proves stronger than the media firestorm that tried to consume it. They definitely proved resilient.
It's been quite the journey to track, from that initial messy collision to this very strategic, quiet engagement. They didn't just survive, they clearly learned from the chaos.
Which leaves us with a really interesting question to chew on, for you, the listener. Given just how total that initial destruction was, careers, reputations, everything, can this new strategy of quiet, personal decision-making actually override that powerful public narrative of scandal that was set almost 3 years ago?
Or will the scrutiny just adapt? Will people always see their current life, their resilience, through the lens of how it all started?
Yeah, can they ever truly escape the shadow of that beginning, even by taking control now? That's something to think about.
A compelling thought indeed. Thanks for sharing the sources for this deep dive into survival, strategy, and commitment. We'll catch you next time.